Yes, and we believe that it's not that black people are high risk; they're more vulnerable because of like the systemic things like systemic racism, things
Yes.
like a lot of the health interventions we don't feel are like presented because there's a lack of representation of black people in high places where a lot of decisions pertaining to our health are made, even
Yes.
though we're at more high risk. We feel like because of that, some of the delivery of some of the messages, some of the campaigns are not done in a way that it will actually reach out to the community. And also, there's a lot of mistrust in the community because of certain things that have happened historically. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of people in the black community, there is a little bit of mistrust in terms of things that are done in the conventional way, that whether they mean the best. So a lot of people sometimes prefer not to even engage and just rely on herbs and supplements. And herbs and supplements they have their role, they're very good, but sometimes you do need medications, you do need other things, and there are other things that can be done to prevent us from, having high blood pressure, diabetes, and all those things. So those are some of the societal problems. I mean, black people we know often very stressed. Some of the challenges we have, like, in terms of stress levels, in terms of more likely to be in prison, in terms of
Yes.
immigration. A lot of people sometimes they come to this country from another country that comes with its own challenges and problems that then goes on to impact on people's, general health and well-being. So these are some of the societal problems that, in my opinion, have a big impact on our health that aren't always addressed by the powers that be, in inverted quote, I say that.
Well, absolutely. Do you think Do you think that that's done? That sort of negligent behavior. Do you think it's done on purpose to actually create
No,
sickness?
I don't think it's done on purpose. It's a bit like with the Black Lives Matter, where there's a lot of, I don't know if ignorance might be a bit of.
Hello. Hello. Somehow. Greetings. Funke. Well, we're still here. I tell you what, we'll play another track and maybe we'll hear from you after that. Yes, this is Bless Radio. And I'm Tamara Gabrielle. Wait. Martin for Ganja. Police stops and searches were a regular thing, with or without wearing bling. No matter what vehicle we were driving, on foot it was just the same. As we played the duck and diving game, with cloak and dagger and the gangster's swagger, we suffered persecution for the herb that heals the nation, keeping the peace in recreation, and gave us economic salvation from sus laws and police brutalization. They even took my collector's Mercedes away and said you'll never get it back again, even if I took them to court. And the judge ruled in my favor. They'd never give me back that car, 'cause they knew what I did for a living. It was their time to take and mine for the giving. Things got even worse, more blasé, as police corruption grew. I was jailed for 18 months.
Hello, is that Bless FM? Sorry, I think we cut off on WhatsApp.
Oh yes. Is that you, Funke?
It's me, indeed.
Okay, well let's proceed from where we left off. Okay, let's go into this herbal health business here and the pharma business. So you're saying that herbal health, in many ways, it enhances pharmaceutical drugs and vice versa? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry,
They work together. They can work together. Is that what
they
you're saying?
can, but you have to be very careful because sometimes they can interact, you know.
Right. Okay,
And
because
so you have to get the right advice. If you're taking pharmaceuticals, in a lot of cases, sometimes you can take herbs, but it's always wise to seek advice so that you take the right thing the right way.
indeed, and you know, we're supposed to be reasoning about the word today, and here we are. We're reasoning on words. Words is our communication, and words is power. Words become flesh, become action, become dreams come true. You know, words turn into babies. You one day you thought, oh, I'd love to have a baby called June, and then suddenly you've got a baby called June. You know, and so you know what I mean, and so forth. You know, so you know we're communicating. This is very, very powerful. I'd really love, you know, our community to wake up to the appreciate the power of the word, that we can free ourselves from our prisons. As you were talking about the pharmaceutical stuff, I know my sister, she died from being given too much steroids for, I think it was 10 years longer than what she's supposed to have been taking them for. So basically, and she only discovered that maybe a few months before she passed away, that she'd been given her so much steroid it made her condition far worse till she ended up in the grave. And I know there's a lot of black people, white people, all kind of people out there who still put their confidence and trust in pharmaceutical drugs and what the doctors prescribed for them. And some of them are afraid of herbal remedies. And they're so afraid that some of them say, well, they'll have to ask their doctor first, even though you may tell them that this, you know, will not affect your medication because this is moringa tea. It's just like drinking any other tea, except it's richer in, you know, vitamins and minerals and so forth. You know, world's #1 food supplement.
I think sometimes this is the challenge because sometimes the advice you get depends on who the professional you speak to. So some professionals may have an opinion that they don't believe in herbs and supplements, and others may have a different opinion. And this is why it's important for you to do the research you can, but to find a professional that you can relate with, a professional that will listen to you and try to take into account your feelings, your beliefs, and your concerns. And you mentioned about steroids and your sister. Steroids can be, you know, have been lifesavers in many cases. But again, when people are on medications, and this is what being a pharmacist, this is a lot of what I do in my job, is I look at people's medications. A lot of times, sometimes they stay on the medicines too long, and when I see a patient or I see a person and I assess their medications and I say, well, you can stop this, you don't need to be on this anymore, we can reduce the dose. And we're doing a lot more of that now because of things like what you, the example you gave about your sister, which is quite sad. You know, I mean, we have to remember a lot of the doctors are under a lot of pressure, and I think people a lot of times don't really appreciate or realize that when it comes to medications, they should actually be speaking to their pharmacist in the first place because they can do a lot to help them, to advise them, to manage them. I work in a team and I work with doctors and I review patients' medications a lot. That's a big part of my job as well as keeping people healthy. So we try to avoid things like what happened to your sister, and that's what I mean when I say there's a lot of mistrust because, you know, like, it really depends on who you speak to, and if you're coming from a certain culture and you unfortunately happen to meet someone that doesn't really have an insight or an understanding of the culture, sometimes that doesn't always end in the best way, you know, for the patient. I have to acknowledge that.
So these people, who do you advise them to go to? To you?
Yeah, so if you've got a question about your medication or like, you're not sure of something you've been wrong, I mean, the pharmacy that I've set up is we really are focused on people within our community because I'm very much aware of the challenges and the limitations. I've worked in the NHS for many years and I know, because of that whole glass ceiling and other things, sometimes you can't do as much as you would like to do. So I've set up a pharmacy where I can cater to the community. People have got issues or questions around their medications, or they're like, oh, I've been on this medication a long time, is it possible for me to come off it or stop it, or I want to take some herbs and some supplements, I've heard this herb is good for diabetes, I've got HIV, I want to stay well even though I'm taking medication, I need some help and support, then come to us, we will help you, take the right thing at the right time. And we can also, in some cases, when patients are newly diagnosed with certain conditions, we can help you to stop it from getting worse so you don't need more medications. By giving you the right thing, the right advice, the right support, and recommending the right supplements, we can, in some cases, help you to reverse the diagnosis, and in some cases, we can help to stop things from getting worse.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm sure our community would like to know where to find you and your contact details. Could you air them for us?
Yeah, so we're an online pharmacy, so the website address is www.wefie, which is WEFIE pharmacy.com.
WESIE
pharmacy.com.
PHARMACY.com.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, and what, you ask for Funke, do you, or?
Yeah, if you go to the website, all the contact details are on there. You can give us a ring, you can send us a WhatsApp message, you can email us, whatever works for you, just get in touch. We really are looking to work with our community and really create healthy change.
Yes, because, a lot of these pharmaceutical drugs, the side effects are tremendous, and some of really frightening in many cases.
And I think that's the problem, because I think a lot of people are scared because of the side effects. And I think, again, information is power. I think the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Yeah. Getting the right information is crucial. It's true that medicine causes side effects, but it's also true that if you take them in the right way, you get the right advice. And there are many people that take medications without any side effects at all. And also, there are things that can be done to prevent or to minimize those side effects in cases where you have to take a medication. And let's not forget, this is the myth that a lot of people don't realize. Herbal and natural products can also cause side effects. And that's a myth that people don't realize. If you don't take some herbs the right way, the right time, sometimes you don't get the effect you want. And sometimes it can cause problems. And I have seen that live. I've seen cases where people have taken the wrong herb at the wrong time, and it's not ended very well. So it's like with everything. Use it properly, get the right advice, and more than likely you'll be okay. And even if you do get side effects, if you are in contact with the right person, they'll be able to support you and advise you on how to manage those things.
I mean, a lot of it to do is with your diet as well, and to do with positive thinking as well. Oh, by the way, we've got DJ, Supreme, in the studio, and I'm sure he'd like to have a word with you. Isn't that right, King Supreme?
Yeah, greetings, sister.
Hello.
Yeah, my name's Supreme. I've just literally come in the studio, and I'm kind of playing catch up. And I'm hearing that you're running an online pharmacy.
Correct.
So, I'm gonna say something to you. I'm gonna put it online. The other day, I woke up in the morning, and I had a pain around my forehead, and a lot of pain behind my eye. Now, if I gave that description of a symptom, what would you recommend for me to take?
Well, I need to ask a few more questions before recommending something. I mean, when this happened, was this the first time it happened?
This is about the second, third time, and it normally seems to happen when I'm like sleeping and I wake up with, I'm going to call it a migraine, but I do find that I've got like a slight pain behind the eye. So describing that to somebody, I mean online without talking to them, and just even talking to you one-to-one, it sounds like I need to give even more info. And what?
So this is
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So with this online pharmacy, it's really like a virtual type, and that, to be honest, I still work part-time in GP land, and because of the whole COVID-19, we're having to do a lot of things remotely anyway.
Yeah.
So, something like that, like the online pharmacy, like you said, you came in a bit late. It's not, the pharmacy I've set up is not just about selling drugs and herbs. In fact, my main focus is actually consultations, is actually advising people, is actually supporting people, helping them to live healthy, supporting them in their journey. So something like what you've described, it would be the kind of thing where I would want to speak to you over the phone. We can do video consultations as well, but I would want to speak to you and I would want to explore things in a bit more detail and to be able to give you the right advice.
Yeah, because I'm just going to go down the normal route that normally happens in a GP. That used to happen. Some of it still happens now. When you go in a GP, the first thing they do is blood pressure, blood sample, possibly weigh you. Back in the days, they used to look in your eyes, look in your ears, but nowadays the procedure, they don't even do that procedure. Not unless I would say me as the patient is saying, well, doctor, I'm overweight. Then he will say, well, he'll weigh me. But most of the times what I've found in the GP, not discrediting them, is if I push the issue, then they will investigate more. But as soon as I come through, it's almost like most GPs are just down on the computer in the book, ready to just give you possibly a placebo pill, or he's looking on your past history, thinking, oh, this man used to suffer from a condition called gout. Well, before he even gets in there, I know what the problem is. So, but one of the things I'm saying that I do think it's good that they used to, even one time they even used to do the urine in the doctor's surgery. Used to go, I remember, as a little boy, the man said to me, go in the toilet, do a wee in the bottle and bring it back. And then I don't know if he put a litmus paper in there or some paper to see, but I noticed that these procedures over time, they're less and less.
They used to take your temperature,
have
a look at your throat as well.
This is the part of the conversation that I'm having, and this is part of what led me to where I am right now and doing what I am right now. Like I was explaining to Brother Samara before, so GPs are under a lot of pressure. I work in practice and I know sometimes I get told off for spending too long with patients. But that being said, sometimes if you're experienced enough, you don't have to do all those procedures to be able to know what's going on, because maybe say someone that's not that experienced, they might decide to do all the tests, everything. I mean, when I first started working in GP, I would want to do everything, but with experience, you kind of, when you speak to someone, especially if you already know the person, you can kind of, you can kind of tell what's going on in a lot of cases. So sometimes when those procedures aren't being done, it doesn't mean that, you're being treated with any less care. It could, and I know what you're saying is true. There are some cases where some people are under such pressure that maybe they don't investigate things as deeply as they should. That exists. I'm not denying it doesn't exist. But in a lot of cases, what you'll find is that sometimes with experience, you don't need to run all those tests, you don't need to do all those things. You can kind of just tell, okay, this is more likely the problem, so this is more likely going to be the solution. Now, you mentioned something about pills and just getting a prescription and going on your way. And I was speaking to Robert Tamara before you came in and saying this is another thing that, because medications are overused, we know that in the NHS, and there's a massive drive right now, and that's part of what I do. That's not my only job, but it is part of what I do. If I see a patient on a medication, or if a patient comes to me, believe it or not, the first thing I'm looking at to solve the problem is not giving the patient a tablet.
Excuse me.
And if they're on 5 medications, what I'm looking at is how can I get this patient down to maybe 1 hour?
Yes, hello.
I'm maybe.
Funke?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like to say this. Apparently, a lot of people actually hold the view that a lot of GPs are glorified drug pushers for pharmaceutical companies, and that they're actually getting a percentage of how much drugs they sell. So they try to push out as much drugs as they can to increase their earnings. I mean,
so that used to be I say that, let me say the right thing. There used to be a time that drug companies could, and I say could, influence prescribing, but the way the NHS and the way the rules and regulations are set up, it's very, very hard for them to do that now. And like I said, there's a massive drive. There's a recognition that there are a lot of people on more medications that they need to be. And what we're trying to do now is reduce the number of medications patients are on, and working with them to, minimize that. And I do that every day. Like, I see patients on diabetes. I work with them to try and minimize the amount of tablets they need to take, try to reverse things when I can, but you're always going to have some patients that there is no other option but to give them those medications.
Apparently, Funke, another thing is that a lot of people are still a bit apprehensive about online treatment, online surgery. I mean, people really like to go to see someone and they can actually touch their leg or their arm or whatever and put a stethoscope on their heart and all that sort of thing, take their blood pressure, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And they don't seem, a lot of people don't have no faith in this technological pharmacy. I mean, how can you persuade them or how can you convince them otherwise?
I think, to be honest, and I do understand that, I do see that there is the need for patient contact, and online pharmacy, online treatment, online care is never going to erase that need. Sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're right. If I'm speaking to a patient, I'm like, well, actually, I need to see you. You need to come in. But let's say, for example, I have 25 calls in the morning of patients with various complaints and issues. All the time, what you'll find, especially with experience, is that 90-95% of those patients, if you've got the right knowledge and experience, you can deal with those things without seeing them. But there will be a small percentage of people that you need to see face to face. And, I think COVID-19 has shown us as well the value of having some consultations and some support remotely, from a distance. For example, if you've got chronic disease, like hypertension, diabetes, there's a lot I can do to help and support you, or even HIV, there's a lot I can do to help and support you from a distance. If you've got like a cold or a flu, or you've just, woken up, you feel really, really bad or really, really dizzy, then there are some things like that I might say, well, actually, I need to see you because I need to put a stethoscope on you, I need to check your blood pressure, I need to check your temperature, so there is that, and online doesn't erase that. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of cases where sometimes people suffer in silence, or people wait unnecessarily when they could have got the solution if they just spoken to someone like me, or they just reached out to an online service.
Yes, Funke. The thing is that you said that you also deal with herbal remedies. I haven't heard you mention any yet. How do you bring that into play? Because it sounds to me like as though you work for the pharmaceutical companies, and yet you've got a hand in with the herbal remedies as well. So how would you recommend a patient to move on? Because the image we've got and the understanding that we've got coming back from the GP surgeries and so on is that GPs don't really like people in general to mention, should I try any herbal remedies? They frown upon it. They want you to just strictly take pharmaceutical drugs, and they feel as though there's some sort of competition between the two, where you're saying you actually suggest herbal remedies to some of your clients.
Yeah, so first of all, I don't work for any pharmaceutical company. Let's put that on record. Right. I'm a pharmacist and I'm an independent pharmacist, so I don't work for anyone, so no one pays me, so I'm not being paid to say anything here. Right. So that's one. So two, in terms of, like I was saying to you earlier, every professional will have their own opinion about certain things. From a scientific point of view, the evidence for a lot of herbs and supplements is not that strong. However, there is a lot of anecdotal evidence, there is a lot of historical data to suggest that they do something, and there is a place and role for them. So for me, if a patient comes to me, it really depends on where they are in their journey, how bad they are. If someone came to me and maybe, their blood pressure is just a little bit high, and it's been a little bit high for some time, they're getting symptoms, or even like with prostate, maybe, they're saying they're a bit tired, etc. Then there are times like that where it might be like, okay, if you improve, certain things in your lifestyle, like you mentioned your diet, because herbs are mostly, to be honest, herbs are like plants, which are food anyway. So it might be that, okay, I think in this case, it might be worth you having a supplement or a herb, and that might help you, prevent you from needing something as strong as pharmaceuticals, because the difference between herbs and supplements sometimes is pharmaceuticals are quite strong, they're quite potent, and there are times where we need something strong and potent to do the job. But there are other times where you don't have to have something as potent, and it may be times like that it's like, okay, try a supplement, try a herb. Someone that maybe because of their job, because of their lifestyle, they can't eat properly, or they're very stressed, or they've got certain things going on, but they haven't necessarily got like a chronic disease. Times like that, it may be worth them taking some vitamins, some minerals, or some herbs to support their well-being. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all. It is really all about the individual, where they are, what the problem is, and thinking about the long term as well as the short term.
Okay. Yes, so can you please tell our listeners where we can find you? Because the fact is that we're having a talk on reparations and the power of the word, and of course your word. People are listening to your word, and people listen to the words of doctors and pharmacists and so on, and put their trust in them, really, and it can be a matter of life and death, so it's a very, 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 very serious matter, and so the word is very important. One has to be very careful, really, what words you use when you're talking to someone about some remedy for their health. I mean, isn't there cases where maybe you probably don't know anything, you can't come to any decision, and you have to turn the client away?
I think being a good health professional is not what you do when you know. It's what you do and how you manage people when you don't know the answer. And there's a lot of things I don't know, because you can't be an expert at everything. And I would I would say be very cautious if someone claims to be an expert at everything and claims to be able to solve all your problems. When I think the difference between when you come to someone like me or, a colleague like myself or a pharmacist or something, a good professional, it would be a case of, okay, this is what I can do to help you, but this is my limitation, and this is the next step I think you should take to help yourself. So it might be that, well, actually, I don't think you need any medication. I think you need to be thinking about physiotherapy, for example. In this case, I think you need to see a specialist. And that's how we practice. And that's how I think a good practitioner should practice. You're not going to know everything all the time.
Absolutely.
But you should at least, I feel like, at least be able to point the patient or whoever you're speaking to in the right direction.
So what makes what makes the difference between you and other pharmacists? Because obviously you're coming over like as though you're not like the ordinary pharmacy on the high street. Why should people come to you instead of going to Boots or Eastern Chemist?
I am black, in case you hadn't guessed from me speaking.
Well, your accent is very, Englishised, and
I just put in that
Anglophiled and Europeanized. But it's nice to hear a black voice, a black lady coming through with that sort of accent.
In terms of other pharmacies out there, this pharmacy that I've set up has been set up specifically focused on a lot of those chronic disease that affect our community disproportionately. So things like I mentioned at the beginning, things like high blood pressure, things like diabetes, things like HIV that we don't like to talk about, but we know is a very big problem within our community. And our goal as a pharmacy, a lot of pharmacies are based on volumes, based on their success is based on how many prescriptions they can do. That's not what we're about. We have set up our pharmacy in a way that we can consult with patients, we can advise them, we can sit down with them, we can advise them on supplements, on herbs and pharmaceuticals and give them the best option for them. But we can also do a lot of the things that some traditional pharmacies do. So if you're traveling or if you want to give up smoking or you've got some erection problems, you want some Viagra, we can help with all that. But I think for me, what's key is I want to see people on less medications. I want to see people growing old with a good quality of life, not growing old and having to rely on 10, 15 medications, because I know it can be avoided, especially if we get there on time, and then just helping people with the day-to-day and giving them a safe space in the community where they know they can come and speak to someone who won't judge them and who will consider the other things that I was saying affect health. So things like being stressed out a lot because of some of the issues we face in the community. People that maybe have immigration problems that are scared to access, health in the normal way. Maybe you've got a mother out there who, can't, get access to normal health and you're trying to support her or help her, So that's why I think, people should come to us kind of thing. And, I'm not knocking down other pharmacies. They do a great job and they have a role to play. But I just feel when it comes to health in the black community especially, there's a lot more that can be done that isn't being done. And we're trying to fill that gap.
And do you have I know you've given us an internet address. What about, is there a phone number where people can phone?
Yeah, so the phone number they can get us on is 0208 167 9233. If they want to,
could you repeat that? 0208
167
167
9233.
33. Oh, that's
and
lovely.
if they want to WhatsApp us or get us on the mobile, it's 07712
07712
571
571
750.
750. Yes, thank you very much for that, Funke. So people out there, please call Funke. Any questions on your health, on the pharmaceutical drugs that you're taking, maybe she can help you to cut it down and get to a stage where you're not relying on on pharmaceutical drugs anymore. By
Yeah.
God's grace. Is there anything else, Funke? Because we would like to talk about a bit on reparation, unless you've got something to talk on reparation
No,
as
no,
well.
that's totally fine. I think I've said enough for one night. If people, it's a shame that we couldn't do a call in case some of your listeners had questions, but maybe
Yes.
next time.
Yes,
But I
absolutely.
hope,
Well,
I hope,
I'm hoping you'll come in one day soon, and
yeah.
we can
But
go further.
definitely, I just wanted to make sure that was it DJ Stream, that I answered his question okay? That
Okay,
he,
yeah. I've got to say I'm quite interested in your business, and I will check it out, and hopefully I can use your service and forward it on to others. I've got loads of questions to ask. But the one thing I'm going to say to you, I don't want to come over as if I'm bashing up GPs and doctors and farmers, chemists.
yeah.
And the thing is that when people, you said something which was interesting, and when you commented on the Bible and you said, our people will perish for a lack of knowledge. Our people are perishing because we don't answer the correct questions as well.
That is true. That is true. And it's a shame you missed the early part of the interview where I was saying that, asking the right questions, knowing where to go. But some of these problems are systemic. When we talk about systemic racism and issues, I don't have a voice at the table where I can create change in policy, that will have a bigger impact on the health of a community that is said to be disproportionately affected by a lot of diseases, which is why I've decided to do this instead, to get around that challenge, So, yes, it's a fact that sometimes we don't ask the right questions, and we have to own our own health. I think that's the message I want people to take home, because no one's going to do it for us. Things will change in the system, things will get better, but we know it's going to be a very slow journey. And, we need to start owning our health. And there are health professionals that have an understanding and are doing things out there. And I'm trying to do this so that I can kind of address that gap and balance kind of thing. And sometimes speaking to the right person kind of helps you to know the questions to ask, know where to go, know what should you be asking your GP, what should you be asking your pharmacy, and that's what we're trying to do. So own your health and speak to people that you feel comfortable with, and try to find the right professionals that will help and support your health, I guess, is,
There is a couple of questions that I'd quickly like to ask you, especially with medication. And when you buy medication, this is just me personally, as soon as the pain goes away, I stop taking the medication. Should I continue taking the medication until the bottle's finish?
Not necessarily. In a lot of things to do with pain, most times if you're not in pain, you shouldn't need to take it. But sometimes it depends on the history of the pain or what's going on. For someone that's just had surgery, it might, for example, be a good idea to take some painkillers continuously for about a week or so, depending on the nature of the surgery you've done. But if you've had a headache or you've had some aches and pains, then a lot of times you should really only need to take it when you feel the pain.
I know this show wasn't meant to be about this, but it just sparked off a lot of questions.
Yeah, go on, man.
What's happened? Recently, I don't know, have you been listening to the saga with Kanye West?
A little bit.
Right, previously, this is not the first time he's had an outburst, but one of the things that he self-admitted was that he was addicted to a thing called opioids.
Yes.
And he got addicted to opioids because he had surgery. Is it plastic or body surgery or whatever? And he turned around, and one of the things of why I like Kanye West, because he admitted that he was an addict, number one, and he admitted that he knew the reason why he was an addict, and he turned around and said it is because of the public pressure saying that he was fat.
I remember that.
That's why he started to get surgery. But doing the surgery, he needed to take these pills, and he got addicted to them. So I know opioids is quite an addictive tablet. And it's very interesting. Even though people don't like Kanye West, I'm glad that he, as a celebrity, had that meltdown and that outburst because it shows that he's human like us and that this problem exists in our community. I never heard of opioids until he had that issue, and it got me. And the same with Prozac. And Prozac, the history, the research that I done, Prozac is banned in certain countries, but it comes under a different trade name in other countries. And that the Prozac, you know, is known as the #1 depressant tablet in America. But I can't remember the trade name, what they call it in Europe, but it's got another name that it comes in. Because in some countries, certain tablets are banned, but then they bring it under another name. Because you mentioned, you mentioned Viagra. Viagra, the research that I done with Viagra was found by accident. It was a side effect. It was a side effect that caused men to have erections. They said, well,
they refused to give the medicine back. They were doing a clinical trial, and all the men all of a sudden didn't want to.
But then it is, you know, touching on Viagra, what I'm finding, which is very interesting, that a lot of young people are taking Viagra, and there's the one that's more prescription based. I can't remember the name of it, but even at my workplace, it's like the reason why they kind of license Viagra, this is from my information, is because there was a black market out there. And people were selling this thing on the market. So now they've kind of, I don't know, could I use the word watered it down? Or, you know, even if you go in the chemist will have a little word with you and say, I'm sounding like I've gone and bought some. Like, you know, like they'll ask you the questions, have you got a heart problem, blood circulation problems? Because I was told it can induce heart attack. I could be wrong.
Yes, but I heard that as well, because it races your heart. It sort of gets your adrenaline going.
I would presume the job that Viagra is doing is pushing the circulation around your blood.
The circulation, that's right.
That's why it's going to your part
to reach the penis where that wasn't getting enough blood there. So there's a rush in the blood over there.
And talking about clinical trials, again, I don't know if you know, the clinical trials with the COVID now. Would it be that COVID vaccination pill may be found by accident? Because they have to do a certain amount of. I'm look at things as research should be done over a period of time, over a period of different people. You know, you can't just come up with a solution just like that. Research can actually take years. So how are they going to come with this?
I think there's a couple of things you've mentioned. So in terms of the opioid and the painkillers, and funny enough, I just finished having to try and take loads of patients. We did some work where I work and trying to take patients off opioids. Some patients was a complete struggle and nightmare, and others we had some success. And you're right, it's good when you have celebrities coming out and showing that they're not perfect, because it helps and inspires other people to get help. Now, in terms of the Viagra, what you said was right. It was discovered by accident, and, you know, drugs like fluoxetine, the Prozac, you're saying, we actually call it fluoxetine here, and it's not necessarily the first line we tend to go with these days, but we do still use it quite a bit. And this is why, like I was saying to Brother Tamara, why there's a massive drive in the NHS for pharmacists to do more work around reviewing people's medicines, taking them off medicines, because sometimes they get forgotten on them, and patients forget, and people forget, you know, and it's, you know, because a lot of pharmacists hone in on the drugs because that's their expertise. Although they do a lot of other things, they really do hone in on that. So this is why it's important, if you're on a medication, every so often you check, like you just asked the question, do I need to take this long term? There's a lot of things you don't need to take long term, and also our bodies change over the years. So there are things that maybe you needed at a certain point, but things have changed, and we can think about reducing the dose you take, which will reduce the chances of you having side effects, or we can think of actually stopping the medicine. It isn't set in stone. So I think the question you ask is a really good one, and I hope people take this away and engage with their pharmacist or find a pharmacist that they feel they can engage with to help them look after their medications. In terms of the clinical trials and the COVID-19, you're right, it's not going to be overnight, but I think the focus is not on finding a treatment. The focus is more on developing a vaccine, because even though you need to do clinical trials, sometimes vaccines can be developed a little bit quicker because you know what you're doing, you know what you're working, you know what you're looking for, whereas finding a tablet and finding a treatment, that's a little bit harder. And you're right, sometimes these things, a lot of times, in fact, there's many cases in history where solutions have been found by mistake. You mentioned a classic example with the Viagra story kind of thing, and from that other things have come. So I think we may not get a cure, that's a bit ambitious, but that doesn't mean that they can't. At the moment, the mode of treatment is you manage the symptoms. If you haven't got a cure, then you try and manage the symptoms. And that's what they're trying to do with a lot of the treatments we're seeing at the moment. Reduce the duration, reduce the length of time, minimize the impact. That's kind of what's happening at the moment. But I think the focus is more on getting a vaccine to prevent people from getting it. And that, sometimes that's even better, because you want less people to get it than to get it and to worry about having to treat it. But so a lot of what you're saying is kind of right in a way.
Well, sister, talking about vaccines there, you reminded me, I know a lot of young mothers today have been saying that they believe that their babies were affected by the vaccinations that they had, and they've been diagnosed with autism or with other or hyperactivities. These sort of things. And they said they were fine, and then suddenly, after the vaccine, they've seen these changes. The babies either become more withdrawn, or as infants, or they become more sort of boisterous, and all that sort of thing. What have you got to say about that? So when you're talking about vaccinations, it's a thing that frightens people. There's a lot of people who are afraid of any form of vaccination, and we know that this COVID thing here, people are desperate for a vaccine, and with the...
I think, like everything, there's two sides to everything, and, vaccines are no different. Vaccines aren't perfect, the same way herbs are not perfect. Nothing in life is perfect. But when you look at the figures, and I actually wrote a book, and in the book I dedicated a chapter to vaccines. I think it was The Power of Vaccines. So that's called Truth About Health Exposed, and that's available on the pharmacy website and Amazon. Or rather, you get it from me.
What's the book called, if you could tell us?
Truth About Health Exposed.
The Truth About Health Exposed.
Yes.
By
me.
By Funke.
Yeah, Funke Adeniji.
How you spell it?
Adeniji.
F-U-N-K?
No, F-E.
F-E.
Yeah, Adeniji. That's what's on the book.
F-E.
Adeniji. A-D-E.
A-D-E.
N-I-J-I.
N-I-J-I. Okay,
yeah.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah, so I wrote that book because of some of the things that people feel about vaccines, etc. The fact is, and I know, and I'm not immune, and I'm aware there's a lot of conspiracy theories around this, but if you look at the facts, and the fact is that it saved millions of lives around the world. Many of us have never had to deal with things like polio, with smallpox, with so many diseases because of vaccines. If you go back into history and see the destruction, the lives that were lost because of vaccines, it's really hard to argue against them. However, you're right. Sometimes, side effects are always possible. But if you look at the numbers of people, the chances, it's just like a no-brainer. You can't justify. There are some cases where I think, okay, if you make an informed decision and say you don't want a vaccine, then yes. But I think if you look at the bigger picture, they've done more good than harm over the years, and that's not to say, yes, there are some people, like any drug, that you can get a side effect from, but you look at the odds, and then again, even if you look at that side effect, worst case scenario, which thankfully doesn't happen often, and there's not the evidence linking vaccines to some of these things like autism, etc., is very, very weak. But there are reports that maybe like 1 in a million, it can happen. But if that happens, if I'm a mum, and depending on the situation, etc., there's a risk my child's going to get autism. I know that with autism, it can be managed. I know that my child's not going to die. I know that if I do the research properly, I can support them and help them to have a normal life, kind of thing. But if they get some of these diseases, if they get polio, they might not be able to walk, In some cases with some of those infectious diseases, they might die. So when you're making a choice, you have to weigh up the risk and the benefits. And on balance, it's like, okay, yes, there's a risk of having a side effect, but how high is the risk? It's like 1% or less than 1%. Do I really want to risk my child having a disease that potentially could kill them or could mean that they end up being disabled and not able to walk for the rest of their life? Those are some of the things that need to be considered when making the decision, and then looking around you and seeing how many people have had vaccines. I mean, if you've gone through the school system in most countries, most young people have a number of vaccines. If it was that big a problem, we'd be seeing a lot more people with some of these side effects and conditions you talk about. So you have to look at the numbers and weigh it up in terms of proportionality and think about the risk of you not giving it.
Yes, indeed. And the fact is that I just remembered that, I actually heard these mums say it themselves, that they were talking amongst themselves, and they say, no, after the first son, they didn't have the baby get vaccine, the other baby have, and it didn't have any vaccines for the other babies because after seeing what had happened to the first son, and a lot of other mothers, they all agreed, and so there's quite a few mothers out there who no longer believe in having their children vaccinated, even if it's sort of forced upon them. They're still going to try to resist because a lot of faith has been lost in
the other thing you have to remember is that as you get older, it's a bit like chickenpox. You have it as a young child. Most times it will be less severe and you'll survive it. You have it as an adult, it can be quite deadly. So you have to also consider what the risk you're putting on your child when you make that decision. See, I'm not about forcing people to make a decision one way or the other. My job is to work with you, give you the right information, help you to put it into context, and help you to make the right decision for yourself, because whatever decision you make, you have to live with yourself. But what I do say to people is that do your research and then have a discussion with a healthcare professional that you trust and you feel will listen to you. Have a discussion and then make an informed decision, that you can live with regardless of what happens further down the line.
I mean, another thing is that a lot of people actually find themselves in a situation where, the side effects has caused this, it put pressure on their kidneys, and now their kidney problem and all this and that. And these people most of them, they wouldn't even bother ask for any compensation, even if they were probably entitled to, because they were probably overprescribed certain drugs and so on. And a lot of people are actually dying or have died, and a lot of people are reluctant to ask for compensation, and then when they do start the ball rolling, they find so much red tape, no one wants to take responsibility, and you're going round and round the houses, exhausted. A lot of them give up.
I think navigating the health system is a big challenge on its own, and it boils down to what I'm saying to have a doctor that you trust and you feel you can work with. Have a pharmacist that you feel you can trust and you can go to. And when you have things like that, those people can help you navigate the health system, because we deal with a lot of different things on a day-to-day basis. So it's like what I said, when you have an issue, when you have a concern, it's all about trying to engage and speaking to the right person that can help point you in the right direction at the very least. If they can't solve the problem, then they should be able to point you in the right direction. And a lot of what you say, that's what I think it's about. I think a lot of times people just don't have a go-to person that they can communicate with, that they can let their guard down and be honest. And there is that mistrust, especially in our community, where a lot of people don't necessarily totally trust the system. And that's not just the police and the justice system. I think I've heard people saying, oh, I don't really trust the hospital. I don't really want to go into hospital. So there is a bit of that. But I say have someone that you can speak to that can advise you and just help you make those important decisions, because you don't know it all. None of us know it all, but some of us know a little bit more than others because we have to do certain things on a day-to-day basis. So speak to us so that we can share our experience and just help make life easier for you.
Brother Supreme.
Yes. I started to gaze. Apologies. Yes.
Okay, sister. Well, Brother Supreme, I think you answered his question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the alternative to, to the usual pharmacy, you're the alternative. You're the progressive. You're the ones who you're the more community-based type of pharmacy or community styled pharmacy. Is that what you're saying? You're more community conscious.
The black community high on our priorities, and trying to change the statistics.
Okay, so we need to get your address and numbers again for these, so our brothers and sisters can get in touch with you, because there's so many of us out there on all these pharmaceutical drugs, and it'd be great to know that we can leave some of them behind, or even all of them behind eventually. So please.
So the number to reach us on is 0208.
Yes.
167.
167.
9233.
9233.
And you can call or WhatsApp us on 07712.
07712.
571.
571.
750.
750. And that reminds me about a thing called placebo.
And the pharmacy website, before you forget.
I beg your pardon?
The website, the pharmacy, is www.
The www.
Westside, WESIE.
Westside, WESIE.
Pharmacy.com.
Pharmacy.com. And your name is Funke.
Correct.
That's great. That's wonderful, Funke. And you're based in London, are you?
Correct.
That's lovely, because all for what I know, you could be in Canada.
Yeah.
You're these online treatment centers and so on, it could be anywhere these days.
It could be indeed, but no, I'm a lot closer than that.
Okay, that's lovely. That's lovely, Funke. Thank you so much for calling in, and I hope to talk to you later on about coming in so we can go more in depth into this pharma.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the show, and it's also helped me, because some of the questions you guys have asked has helped me to understand even more than I already understood, or more than I thought I knew, as to a lot of people's perceptions and how they feel about, pharmaceuticals and care. I kind of already knew a bit, because it's my community, but the questions you've asked me have really, will help me moving forward to be able to do more for people. So thank you for having me on and asking me those questions.
Thank you, Funke, and have a blessed evening, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Blessed love. Yes, Brother Supreme.
Yes.
So repairing. What's your take on all that, on the meeting this Saturday, 1st of August in Brixton?
The reparations is happening in Brixton this week, Saturday. Brixton will be locked down from 7 a.m. in the morning. The area will be locked off, cordoned off. Libation, I've been told, will be around 9 o'clock in the morning.
Libation, for who doesn't know what libation is, can you explain it,
Libation is basically we are honouring and remembering the ancestors.
please? Right.
You know, so we honour and we remember the ancestors, and we pour water or liquid on the floor as we call out the names that of people that have passed, the warriors, loved ones, you know, ones who've paved the way for us
Yes.
to get to this point.
Yes.
We remember them and we honour them. So that's libation, and even you
Wonderful.
can even see that libation has filtered down even in the community. When people open up a bottle of rum, they normally get a capful of the rum and throw it on the floor. Some
Right.
people don't really know why they do that, but that is
That is where it comes from.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that starts, so it's from 7 o'clock it starts.
Well,
is it?
7 a.m. in the morning, Brixton will be locked off, cordoned off, and the area will be sealed off, and there will be different areas and groups that will be dealing with, you know, arts, culture, crafts, art. There'll be different segments, people talking on different areas
Right.
of reparations.
Okay.
Normally, on the reparations, they march from Windrush Square to Parliament. And when they reach, I think the time is at 3 o'clock, there's 1 minute silence, and normally that happens coincidentally just as we're going over the bridge. And you can see
That was the
Big
Parliament.
Ben. Yeah, Big
Okay.
Ben.
Big Ben.
So
right.
when there's a point in the day that we stop and we give 1 minute silence. Now, very interesting that we're talking about reparations, because currently we've had this Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
and all, you know, because of an incident that has happened with George Floyd. That George Floyd incident has sparked off the way we have been treated. And even, you know, I watched the footage, but I couldn't watch it completely. And it was almost like a man treating someone like a dog.
Absolutely.
You know, like a dog.
Worse than a dog.
But you look at this, it's interesting.
Like a log, more like it. It's like he was leaning on a log, not a dog. I mean, the dog would have been barking and whining.
If somebody done that to a dog, they would be arrested.
Absolutely, brother.
Because they have rights. Dog has rights, more rights than human beings. But we see this happening to us regularly. You know, the abuse that is happening. You know, and from that, you know, that incident just showed the world, look how they're treating black people over, I'm going to call it a misdemeanor. Could be minor offence. It could be, you know, it could be a trivial event.
No, nothing
incidents.
at all. Just wrong place at the wrong time. You know, it's like fishermen out there trying to catch anything they can, anything that comes along. Off you go. One from you got the melanin. You know, you're a target, basically. But you know, this reparation, you know, 'cause we're talking about repairing. I mean, and how long have we been going on with the reparation? I understand there's no march this year. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no march this year. One of the reasons, there's two reasons that I have come to. On Saturday, Parliament is not even open, or where they're going to deliver normally it's to hand over the signatures at the end of the march.
Right.
Saturdays it would be normally closed. And I've been told that the numbers have been dwindling over the years. So they're trying to say, let's look at this thing and do it slightly different this year. And they're calling it a groundings. Groundings. I'm not 100% sure the ins and outs of the groundings. But they've decided this year, right, we're going to lock down Brixton. There's going to be a groundings going down there. So for people who are, if it's your first time, come down to the reparations August the 1st. Now, August the 1st is Emancipation Day. So, Emancipation Day and the reparations march happens on that day. Emancipation Day. So, in August, there's quite a few events that happen. You've got Marcus
You
Garvey.
talk about Emancipation Day, and it just reminds me of the fact that, well, are we really emancipated? Surely we can't be the way we're being treated and so on and so on. I mean, it's just being a word, and there's a come again about the word and the power of the word. And you say, you're free. And people say, oh, yeah, I'm free, and they're not free.
Yeah.
You know, so the word...
There's something we were talking to, is it Funky?
Yeah, Funky, yes.
Right. And it's very interesting. I kind of zoned out for a while because my mind went somewhere because I read something.
Yeah.
But we have to look at, as well as the medication and the doctors, it's a lot of psychology that's used on us.
That's right.
She spoke about, and she said, and it's something that I would say, because some of us believe in the Bible, the words of the Bible, some of us don't. But it's a good reference, the Bible, when we say our people will perish due to a lack of knowledge. Some of us have African proverbs that we can use, that people can say, this is why this is why this proverb is made, this is why. Now, my personal opinion is that that's so true. But a lot of psychology is being used on us. We have even ourselves been desensitized, right, to what is happening to us.
Absolutely.
That it only is currently now that's what white people are even the ones saying this is not right. Do you understand? And we're now waking up saying white people are marching to say what they're doing to you is wrong. But we've become, I think we've become desensitized to the
and
fact.
Complacent.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's a lack of unity amongst us. There's a lack of organization amongst us. There is so much ego in what we're doing. Everybody wants to be number one.
Yes.
But people are taking on titles and egos, but they're not delivering. That's what I've noticed. And that's not bashing people. This is what I personally notice in the community, that there's a lot of people that they're just angry.
Yes.
And you don't get, to me, this is just me. I'm angry, but you don't get action from being angry all the time.
Indeed,
you
brother.
don't get action from being angry all the time.
Absolutely, brother. This is, hello, Brother Jammers.
Greetings.
Yes, greetings. Yes, brother. Welcome to the debate, to the reasoning. Welcome, brother.
Greetings.
Yes. As you were saying, DJ Supremes.
And I'm glad you've got the wordsmith, the etymologist here.
Yeah.
You know, Jammers, I don't know if you were tuned in, and I'm just talking about our people are perishing due to a lack of knowledge. I have now come to the conclusion that a lot of things that has been used on us is psychology. And because when I look at our schooling is teaching us just to be workers.
Yep.
And when we become workers, they can control you by saying you earn this amount.
Yep.
So we've been controlled psychology. I don't know if anyone knows about, there's a thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that technically is showing you why people work. People work. One, they need to eat, food, sleep. Next, you know, it's actually a pyramid. And on there, at the end of the pyramid is what we call actualization, right? But a lot of us are still stuck on the bottom because they've kept us on the bottom of this period of motivation. Why are you motivated to do things? Some of us are, like you mentioned something very important. We've become complacent. We've become consumers. We've become trying to keep up with Mr. Brown. You know what I mean?
Yes,
We've lost that. You know, you remember Mighty Diamonds?
Yes.
Remember
Yeah.
the tune?
Mm.
Where
When-
did you lose your identity? We have
where
lost
is
it.
that
You have lost it.
identity?
Yeah.
Yes.
If
We
you
need
check
to.
out that record, and you know, there's so much, what I can say, psychology, religion, a lot of things that have been used on us to divide us, right? And I think we've just fallen into this, you know, this sort of, let's say,
Yes.
designed mess to keep you down. I'm gonna say something. The other day, yesterday, in fact, on my radio show, was one of my wake-up calls. I watched a film called Roots, 1977, I do believe.
Yeah.
I'm watching this film, and the way I was like, what? My mum never taught me this. You understand?
Yeah.
But as a 12-year-old boy watching this film, taking it in, thinking, what is the next day at school, jammers the next day at school wasn't the same.
Serious.
Because you were woken up to say,
Yeah.
you're a slave. My dad owns you. You've worked our land, and we're not even going to pay you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you are. Roots was very interesting. Now, what was one of the things that was of control? And there's a specific point that I pulled out in the film and I played, was when Kunta Kinte knew he was Kunta Kinte, right? And he tried to escape. He was one of them ones that every minute he's trying to escape.
Yeah.
So what did the master do? He got everybody on the plantation around, strung him up and whipped him and changed his name. He said, what's your name? He goes, Kunta Kinte. He goes, "Whoosh, your name is Toby. It's a good name, and you're going to have this name. And Kunta was saying, no, my name is Kunta. And, you know, in slavery, what they do, they get another black man,
Yeah.
or they call the white man the cracker, to whip you. They're whipping and whipping. I'm going to tell you, anybody, go and check out that part of the film and count how many times Kunta got whipped. Let me tell you something, right? And I put my hand up. You see that first whip? I would have changed my name on the first whip. Because that pain of that.
Serious.
I would have said, yes, my name is... So it goes to show you the tenacity, the integrity that Kunta had.
Yes,
but
all
they
four
whipped
peers.
it out of him.
Serious thing.
And the
bro.
others were watching it saying, Lord God, please, just say Toby. So in their head, they've actually, like you said, words have told them, please,
Yes.
don't let this happen to me.
Yeah.
Please,
Yes.
take the name Toby.
Yes.
take it.
Words again.
Your
words
name is
again.
Toby.
Yes.
You know what I
brother.
mean? So that part of the film was a wake-up call for me, right? Some people will say, oh, I can't watch that. You know what I mean? But the pain that our ancestors went through, that was one of the visual pains that we saw with Roots, the film that Alex Haley done, tracing his roots back in Gambia. Now, what do they do? Normally, this is what happens, and it's the same with the Willie Lynch theory. After a while, when they've put their psychology and their theories about, they start letting us fight ourselves with conspiracy theories, saying, no, there's no Kunta Kinte, there's no Willie Lynch theory. But if you check out the theory of Willie Lynch, check it out. Somebody put something there, and that's psychology. The light skin versus the dark skin.
Yes.
Look
yes,
at the old versus the young.
Oh yes, I mean I've seen
And this
it,
one
brother.
against that one.
Yes. I mean, don't you think that we're kind of living a bit too much in the past? Sometimes we
Right.
keep going over the past and going over the past. I'm surprised that there isn't a black person who doesn't know about our past. I mean, we need to pass. Don't you feel we need to pass that stage and live in the solution instead of
Yeah.
in the problem? and maybe we'd have less anger, so then we won't be stuck in anger,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to move on
I-
and do what we got to do, because this anger is crippling
Yeah,
our
you-
community, and
yeah.
it's dividing us. It's stopping us from uniting, in fact, because our judgment is blurred and clouded
Yeah.
by anger, which one says is justifiable anger, because wouldn't you be angry too, and all the rest of it. There comes a point. We've been talking about this, I mean, for decades now with me, and I'm sure it must be for you. Some decades now have
Yeah.
passed, and we're still trying to unite, and we need to get to that unity point, really. It's, the solution. We need to, get the solution rather than...
Yeah, well, there have been people amongst us that have helped us and guide us and put certain things in and kind of use psychology. Now, I'm going to mention Neely Fuller Jr. Neely Fuller Jr. says there are 9 areas of activity. I call them the 9 areas of control. Those 9 areas, right?
Yeah.
In those 9 areas, I don't know if you know them, but we don't control none of them. But what we are the people that, let's say one of the areas is entertainment, education, politics, religion, sports, law, war.
Right.
We don't control none of them. If you look at how everything is designed, we don't have I'm not a terrorist, but we don't have a fighting force.
We don't. Well, you see,
We
the
don't.
thing is, you talk about control. We need to control ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, now you're trying to control radio station, and you can't even control yourself. You want to control this and that, and you can't control your children. You can't control a job, that you're supposed to be doing, to go in there on time and come back and this and that, and you can't control self-discipline, practice self-discipline. We need, before we can control an army and control this and that, we have to control. We're not in control of ourselves. I mean to say, 'cause we can't unite. We 100, 200, 1,000 of us get together and we talk about it, and then with next year we're still talking about it, and we're still talking about it, and we still because we don't seem to have that control of our own faculties. They say, well, okay, let's put the other step forward. We're like a record stuck in the groove, and we need to, and I'm sure we can rise up out of this state. And
But the problem is the fight. Look at the fight. When you were younger, you had enough fight and passion in you. If anything happened in the area, man, we have to do this. As you get older and you have a family and you get responsibilities and you buy your property and you do this, now in comes the risk factor. You get what I mean? So a revolution, what is a revolution? We have to look, if we're revolutionists, we have to, financially, we have to support the revolutionists.
yes,
And
absolutely.
another thing, the thing is what we've now become, this is my opinion, we've become individuals. We might be, I might be shouting black power, you might be shouting black power, but we've become so individual. To me, the fact is that if we don't join, shake hands and say, listen, you have to look at, is Jammer still there?
Brother Jammers.
I can just about hear you. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm still there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at. Even though I'm not going to go white man bashing. I'm going to say this, but we have to realize, a thing called leadership, and we have to look at structure. This is just again me. When you look at let's look at the way the system works. The leader is probably not the most powerful person. He's just a leader and he's the spokesperson. Underneath the leader, do you understand? You have the next person. Under that, you have the group. And this is one thing that me and brother Dougie used to talk about: structure, people being accountable. The problem is, if you get a leader who starts to do what he wants, your organization will fail.
Well, I mean, you can't be a leader without followers, and the thing is about it is, and these followers are people who have voted you there,
Yeah.
and they can vote you out of there. There's no leader to say you're going to be some dictator and all that sort of thing. And really, do we have a problem that so many people want to be leaders that we can't unite because everybody wants to be the leader? Is this the problem that we've got here?
Yeah, but we have to look at leadership in the black conscious community. And if you look at, I'm just gonna say an example.
Yeah.
Sometimes a leader in a political party is not very much a good leader, but he's a person that people like. They just like him. You can say that with let's look on Nick Farage.
Yeah.
People love to hate him. There's something about that they love to hate him, but they want to hear what he's going to say.
Yeah.
The same with Trump. But the thing is, you're just the leader. Under you are the people that write your statements, tell you what to say, what's going to go here and there. But your people, what happens with leadership, to me, again, is that it's about leadership is a little bit like personality tests. If you've got a good personality, yeah man, John good, I love, John, me like him vibe. He could be the rubbish leader, but because people like him, he's there. The problem is that when you pick someone for their personality, the problem is their ego might go with them and they say, well, I'll do what I want. They forget that they're answerable to the people below. Okay, I'm just going to ask if Jammers, you want to come in here, my friend?
I just in the part of going back a bit into you said the roots element, the Kunta Kinte element. The minute that the name is changed, the whole purpose, the whole sense of direction, the whole character, the whole concept of a person's ideas, beliefs, thought process, aspirations has changed. And when somebody names you, which is called an euphemism, an euphemism is when somebody else gives you a name and defines who you are. You go into that definition of the name, then you lose your ability, as you say, to be a leader, to define yourself, to provide food and shelter for yourself, because it's just like a film script. You've been given the role that you are going to play by somebody else, put it, and it also goes in the psychological aspect, by somebody else giving you a name and giving you the concepts to attach yourself to with the name that you've been given. That's the psychological process of the word.
Of the word, indeed. Yes.
It's just like I'll give you another analogy that you can. It's like you've got a group of ants that have been overtaken by bees, but the bees haven't killed the ants. They've trained the ants now to get the honey for the bees. And when the generation after generation grows into that community now, they see themselves as a wannabe. They aspire to get the best honey and to get the titles and to get the best roles to support the bees, but they can't see that they used to be able to have their own community of ants. So that they've been sucked into the systems, and no matter how much they aspire, they only want to be like the bee.
Brother Jammers, now you're talking about, we've been psychologically been programmed to be these this and that, doing as we're told, so to speak, or can only go so far. But now that someone like you or myself or Brother Supreme here, we're awake now, we see through all that now, although, Supreme may still be called Mr. Davis, and you still may be called Bill Johnson, and me called Peter Jones, but somehow we've risen above that. Now we're awake now. What's happened to us now? How comes we still can't unite? Why? What's now stopping us from uniting? Well, we're awake now. We know that, all that word and sound and power thing, really drowned us in a dark place, where we lost ourselves and we lacked knowledge. And now we've got some knowledge. What's stopping us now from ascending and uniting? Because we need to unite. What's how are we going to get to that level now? The few of us that are awake then. How are we going to do it? I mean, You know, because we still seem to be struggling. What's your suggestions on that?
Well, basically, as it is, we have to make a future. You know, the future is not dictated by the past. You know, the future is subject to change. You know, so it's to turn the thought process into action.
Yes.
Because we're well versed in the scripture, we're well versed in philosophy, we're well versed in, especially in our past greats.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like it's like we're all looking at the black and white TV.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taking it to the next step, because remember, when they were great, it was in their time frame, it was in their culture, we're in a different frame, you know. So it's for us to take the template that's already been used, but we need to now put it into action and be brave enough to do it our way. As Frank Sinatra, even though when I say Frank Sinatra, we need to put it into action. We need to get together and strategize a new beginning.
So
sometimes
really,
looking at the past can become a chain.
So we need a plan, really, and people to put up their hands and say, well, I'll do this part, I'll do this part. We need to start to say, well, yeah, this is the plan, and this is, yeah, and there's three of us, so this one is going to, work on the mathematics, and this one is going to work on the writings, and this one is going to work on the agricultural side, and we go to work, and the purpose of us coming together is for the benefit of our community.
And I think in relation to that, we have to change our identity.
Right.
If you look at most movements, it starts with a change of identity. If you look at the Soul to Soul, the Funky Dread, look at the Rastafarian movement.
Yeah.
You know, look at the rock stars, pop stars. Look at the Nation of Islam.
Yeah.
Look at Marcus Garvey. So you have to redefine the way that you look at yourself, so that you the essence of you changes. Just like, as I said, as Supreme quite rightly said, Kunta Kinte to Toby. You know, we have to change from Toby to Kunta Kinte. We have to take on our whole, redefine the power of the word, and change our identity.
Absolutely, the power of the word, brother. Do you think that maybe we need to be sometime having these sessions where we're sort of chanting out these mantras, maybe our new names or some certain words to, to get us back into that, into living that way, into the action, Is there any words that we can use to inspire us into action? That trigger us into action instead of just talking.
It needs a plan and a strategy to people. Who do we want to be? Yes, that's what we need to find out. Who do we want to be?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then once you know who you want to be, then you can create the character, the person of your aspiration. Indeed. And more importantly, put it into action to make it manifest into a reality.
Yes. Well, so in the case of we want to be a united community, that means to say it's a collective effort and not an individual thing anymore. 'Cause when we're talking about, uniting a community, I mean, it's this different matter when you're just doing an individual thing, but on the community level, it's a different action there completely.
Well, the thing is, if you act with a certain vibration, you inspire the people around you. That works as well. You see what I'm saying? So if you move in a certain way, people will feel your energy, they feel your character. And if you've got a good concept, like I know you've mentioned some great concepts that you got ahead, and then you'll be able to stimulate the people to want to aspire to do what you're doing,
Yes, indeed. Yes, with action.
I just break down how the words interfere with you just quickly. Basically, you've got your calculating side, yeah?
Yeah.
You've got ability from your senses to work out certain things like the fire. You won't put your hand in a fire so you've got your calculating essence, and then you've got your idea side that has an idea, and you bring it into reality. So that's the two sides of, say, your brain. You've got your brain that works with the physical element, the senses, and you've got the other side of your brain that works with the ideas. You see.
Right. So which one
And
is the what? The left and the right. Which one is the
well, I
complete?
wouldn't even say left and right, because I would just say your balance is that
Right.
you've got two sides to you. You've got the side that works off the physical element,
Yeah.
and you've got the side that works off the idea element, the thinking element.
Right. Okay.
And in your natural state, you want to survive, provide food, shelter, and education and protection.
Yeah.
That's your natural state of
Yeah.
being. What's happened is somebody has given us words that interfere and beliefs. And the belief system is a belief is something that you don't actualize. It's something that you pause on and wait for it to happen. If you're sure that the car is your car's brake works, you're gonna go in the car and drive the car. If you believe that the car might, well, as Dougie would say, could be a light. Or say if you're going to buy a car, yeah, and you know it's a good car, you've seen the history of the car, you're sure you're going to put the money in and you've got a good bargain.
Yeah.
If you haven't got that knowledge and someone's just giving you a good talk, and you buy the car on belief, something might malfunction.
Right.
You know, when you're sure you're going to win a fight, you're going in there to win. If you believe, that means you've got that element of doubt that's pausing. And the way you break through the belief system is when you test your belief. You test your belief.
You have to know.
Yeah, but to know, you have to test it.
Right.
The testing part is the action.
Yes, yes, yes.
Too many of us, we're so caught in a belief system that we don't test the beliefs.
Yes,
we don't test whether these theories still work now, you know?
Indeed, brother Jammers, that is powerful. You know, we've got to put the action in. So yeah, yes, brother Supreme.
Well, I want to ask a question to you, Tamra and Jammers. You said we're too much in the past. We're too much in the past. We're angry. Can we give some points today on this show of what is the solution to the problem? If we, let's forget about the past. What is the solution then?
Well, the solution is to, I personally, I can only speak, the solution is to make peace with the past. When I say make peace with the past, to let it go. I have to make peace with it. If I keep being angry about the past, then I'll always be living in the past.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a grown man who's still angry when his dad used to beat him every day. Or his mom used to lock him in the room and, and all them kind of things and blah, blah, blah. And they keep reliving it and they keep getting angry about it. And it scars and it mars every area of their life, their work, their relationships and everything. So we have to let go of the past by forgiveness and also and make the peace with it. Say, well, yeah, I accept it that this happened, and move on, rather than it shouldn't have happened. But it did happen. You know what I mean? All this stuff happened to our ancestors enslaved. It happened. It happened, and we know it shouldn't have happened. It's most ungodly acts were committed, and so on. But for us to live in the solution, we have to forgive our enemies. Them say, love our enemies, forgive our enemies. Because when I forgave my enemies, that's when I moved on. If I didn't forgive my enemies, I'd still be taking crack, drinking alcohol, and sleeping around and doing all sorts of funny things. I probably wouldn't even be here, actually, to be honest with you.
So, hold on. Let me get this correct. Are you saying that we should forgive them for the past, what they've done?
Well, yes, I am saying that. I am saying to forgive, where we forgive our enemies. When I say forgive our enemies, it's a matter of saying, well, look, listen, the fact is that if we don't forgive them, we will be forever angry. You see, that's the catch. You can't get away from it. It is like the Christos when he said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. He didn't go and say, you effing this and that. You know what I mean? I'm one of you, a Jew like you, and you all have crucified me. I've come to help you all out, show you the light. You know what I mean? I've performed miracles. I healed the sick, raised the dead, blah, blah, blah. And this is how you treat me. And now he said, Father, forgive them for they know what they're doing. You know, otherwise, his purpose, he couldn't fulfill his purpose. So our purpose to rise up above that and to move to the next level in love and unity means to say we have to forgive. Because that means to say, I would like to be forgiven. If you had treated someone wickedly, wouldn't you like to be forgiven? It don't mean to say that me and you is friends. Okay. Me and you, it don't mean to say that me and you is going to be friends. You know what I mean? It's like I love a lot of people.
Okay, you know.
I love a lot of people, but I wouldn't live with them, and I wouldn't even eat with them. But, you know, it's
I'm going to say here, right, and we're reasoning.
Yeah.
But there's some things that are not forgivable. Is that another caller? Now, if I was to put on telly, and I don't want to mention anyone's name in your family, but if you was to put a pregnant woman up, string her up.
Oh.
Yeah? String her up.
Yeah.
Bring the people of Tottenham round.
Yeah.
Get a machete.
Yeah.
Pregnant woman. Slice the woman right down the middle. Then the baby drops on the floor. And then you take your foot and crush the baby's head. Could you forgive that person for doing such a vile act? That is sending a trauma right down from year Sosa to 2020. That is imprinted in your mind to say, I've got to forgive that person for what he's done. No.
Well, you see, forgiving someone doesn't mean to say that you agree with what they've done. It doesn't mean to say that you support anything that they've done. You know, what happened is that, and this is why, through the lack of forgiveness, no matter what it is, I've heard some terrible cases, people have been, you know, they won't forgive their mother, their father, because they've been sexually abused or whatever.
Yeah,
and so, and what you're talking about it sounds unforgivable.
Right,
unforgivable. And it's understandable that you can't forgive. But what I'm saying is that from we can't forgive, we will always remain in the same spot. We won't be able to move on. We won't be able to, because really and truly, because of the, if we can't forgive them, we can't forgive ourselves. We can't forgive our brothers and sisters. This is why we're still even at war amongst our own selves as our people.
We've got the African has got the debt on it. Africa's got that debt on it, yeah?
Yeah.
If you sit down, you're here, yeah? This is your country. You live here, you're born. You're cool. Oh, yeah, I forgive them. But then there's another group of people sitting around doing a conference about you. You're not invited. The Berlin conference. And they're chopping up your country and dividing it amongst themselves. Come on, brother.
Yes,
Come
brother.
on.
So,
These people have been doing things to us, and then they will turn around and say, you know what? The Bible says you should forgive. You know what? You will remain, this is psychology, you will remain in pain because you won't forgive us. They're using the psychology on us too much. And sometimes you have to wake up. You see these same people. Let me tell you something. They're ready. Look, listen. They're ready to cause wars over their pettiness. Right? Look what they got. Did they forgive the person? No, they went and they said, you know what? Shoot up everybody, kill up everybody, rape everybody,
well, you see,
and we get it back.
This is the problem we have in this world here, is that we're going around in a vicious circle.
Yeah.
They committed all these atrocities, and so we cannot forgive them, and we have these wars, they keep reoccurring.
Yeah.
The same, we're always sowing is the same thing over and over again. In order to break that change, we have to do something which is insane, and it's called forgiveness. In order to break from that chain.
Well,
Excuse me, sir.
is that another caller or is that
Yes.
Jammer's still there?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah.
Okay, I thought. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. 'cause-
Okay. Yes, yes, brother Jammers. Can you come in, please?
Jammers,
I know it's unpopular to say I forgive my enemies, but I mean, I certainly see the wisdom in that because I found peace of mind and I was able to move on from a state of drug and alcohol addiction, violence and crime. When I forgave people for things that I really felt like murdering them for. You know what I mean? And they hadn't done anything to me half as bad as what our brother Supreme here has just mentioned about what happened to our ancestors.
Yeah.
And I know that our ancestors, actually, they went through all these terrible things. Atrocities and abominations so that one day we would rise up and be free and return home, because that was the ultimate goal, was to return to the land of
the slave ship called the Zong?
No.
The slave ship, the Zong, right? It was a ship, I think it was going to Jamaica, don't quote me, brother Jammers, you can look this up. But the ship ran out of water. So what they decided to do, the slaves, they threw the slaves off the ship for insurance. Chained them and threw them off to claim insurance. The word massacre came from the Zong. A massacre. They massacred people. Bam, you know what? And we've even been taught, Jammers, I'm not going to say Jammers, back me up, but we've been taught and they've taught that we're not human. We are not human. And if you look at the psychology now, the way we treat each other, a guy would pull out a gun on a youth would pull out a gun on the next black youth, but he would think twice to pull it out on a white youth.
That's right.
So you have to look on, this is all psychology.
Yeah, yeah.
What is it? Why, you know, look, I've seen two young boys walk down the road and the eyes are just there. The eyes are linking like, wait. That's what they've put in our community. It's not the youths, them.
Yes,
it's not the youths. This
is
part of the psychology. You guys over there, we've got them killing each other.
Absolutely.
We have.
And yes, and to break that psychology, like, we have to do something dramatic. We can't keep repeating the same thing, going around angry, banging the drums angrily, this and that and blah, blah, blah. You say we don't have no army, we don't control nothing, this and that, this and that. We make use of our spiritual tools. And the spiritual tool of forgiveness is evolutionary and revolutionary, and we don't want to use it because it seems as though we're signing an affidavit, or we're signing a form saying that we approve of all what you've done for us, we've forgiven you, please come back and do it again. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that, you know, we're awake now, we're above that now, we're moving on, and we know the only way that we can rise is without anger. We can't ride it. Anger is holding us down. So we're going to let you go and say, me forgive you now, but you don't ever try that again, pardon me. You know what I mean? And we move on to a higher level. You know, it is through spiritual practices that we're going to set ourselves free. It's not going to be through having the army or controlling the economy. It's through actually spiritual principles and practices, because even where we have so much at our disposal, other people are coming and taking it from us and getting rich off of it, because we're word, by the power of the word, we've become either angry, we've become or selfish, or we've just become complacent, all sorts of things, and everyone is running away from forgiveness, and that's what sets us free. It's like the man who can't.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to make a plan here.
Yeah.
And the plan is, number one, you say to forgive. What's next?
Well, after we're forgiven, then we can move on into doing what we're supposed to do. Then we can forgive. That's when we have the power to unite. You see, because our anger is separating us, brother. We think it's uniting us, but it's separating us, and not only that, it's causing us to be angry against each other.
Right.
So once we're free of the anger, we can unite now. Suddenly, I can see through.
Yeah.
There's no clouds of anger to look at you at
so,
anymore.
Angry, you said forgive and unite. What's next after that?
Well, we unite towards a plan, towards doing the things we're supposed to be doing, getting our schools built, getting some trust amongst each other, so that we start having an economy amongst ourselves. We start looking at repatriation. We start going to even the reparation thing will be something that would be addressed in a more positive manner on a different level than where it is at the moment.
So far, you've named 3 points. Let me bring Brother Jammers in. Jammers.
Yes.
What do you think is the solution? What we could add to what Tamara said?
Well, the first thing is, can you hear me?
Yeah, nice and clear.
Yeah, the first thing is, the past cannot be changed. No matter how much we look, argue, bang their heads together, the past cannot be changed. If you've got a sore and you keep opening up the cut, it's never going to heal. If you're running a race and 80% of the time you're looking behind you, you're never going to see what's in front of you. This is the trick that's been played on us, that they've taken in his story the part that we've been under trauma, so we call it back into existence.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the 4,000 years when we was ruling the whole planet. They don't talk about the master strategic Hannibal, who the military tactics they're still using now.
Yeah.
The future, as I said, the future is what we can use. People, I know experts in the past and the suffering who can't do any plumbing, can't put up a table, can't put a picture up, can't build a house, can't plant anything in their backyard to raise crops.
Okay.
But they're experts in what happened in the past and the trauma when they've never been in the ship.
Okay,
they've never felt the whip against their back. We're in a better position to do something to make a change.
Yeah.
And the more we focus on the future and how we can achieve greatness, is the better we will have a plan that we can put into action. I know when I was the best runner in the school. I can't bring that back again, no matter how much.
Yeah, I know, and I love the analogies that you're using, right? But Tamra just put a line down the middle and he said, look, forget about the past. You down the line as well. We don't need the past, but yet you're talking and you keep mentioning the past. So the past is important.
Because the only reason why I'm mentioning the past is because what you asked me the question about, that the whole subject is about the past.
No, I never. I said, what do you think is the solution?
Yeah, and I said the solution is to leave the past alone. Because it can't be. The past can't be changed.
Okay.
So it's to move to the future. I'm using the past to say that the way forward is to make the future is subject to change. The past is not subject to change. So the reason why I'm mentioning the past is to show that the future you have the ability to make a change.
Yeah, yeah.
That is why I'm talking about the past as a reference to doing the opposite.
Right. So what's your point number 2 going to be? Because I'm going to make a list tonight, right? And see, when I go down reparations, I'm going to say we had a radio show on the 29th. Is it 29th or the 30th today? The 30th.
It's the 30th.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually want to say, Jammers, Tamra, Supreme is here. I want to make history and say, look, today, this is what we done. Right? And today, we're talking about Afro futures. This is what we spoke about. Could, because they do it, they make a theory, they put their theory out there, and they may call it the Tamra Supreme Jammers theory of moving forward. So that's what we're doing now. So we have a theory, we put that in, and if we practice this theory, X, Y equals this is what should happen. So I'm asking, Jammers, what is your next point then?
As I said, the point is is to create a future which is subject to change.
No,
So the next point is what is the first step that we can do to make a better life for ourselves?
Yeah.
We have to make it. You have to make that first step, and then you have to set a time when you're going to do it. Otherwise, it's just a belief system.
Yeah.
So you have to say what is the first step, and the time that you're going to make that step.
Yeah.
Absolutely, brother.
Well,
So the areas are we talking about? We're talking about security. We're talking about education. We're talking about protecting our families. And we were talking about how can we unite. They're the elements that we need to make steps to actualize.
okay.
Yes, brother, absolutely. And I mean, even in families, we've noticed, even in families, have you noticed the families where they couldn't forgive, you know, even then they've gone in the grave, they still haven't forgotten them, they still hate them after they've been buried, they're still going on with hate. I mean, they say, what, this is the madness of anger, brothers. You know what I mean? It's justified to be angry to a certain point, but to continually live in a state of anger
But what?
and
what
lack of forgiveness.
But I'm saying that's what they've psychology used on us.
Yes, yes.
Because they will come up and say, it's just like, look, I'm sort of changing.
And they would rather us not forgive them.
Yeah.
They rather us keep us there like that, hating them, and this and that, dysfunctional and all that. Yeah, but from they say we forgive them, but that would really, that's checkmate, brother. They can't handle that kind of move there, brother. And this is the kind of move, this is the courage that we need to change the things that we can.
Yeah.
We have to come to a place of forgiveness.
And Jammers is on the line, and you know one thing, Jammers, I've learnt. We put the words out there, we put the words in the universe, the what do they call it, the laws of the universe. And when we put stuff out there, it should, if we, and that's another thing, Jammers, I personally believe, right, we should also, I'm putting this, we should make our own words and empower them.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we're working off certain words that they've got the power on, right? That's just me. I put that out in the universe. Now, one thing I'm gonna say, because psychology is so interesting, and psychology, the word brand is a word. Now, the thing is, a brand came from branding the slaves. Brand, that is your brand. Who do you belong to? You were like cattle. They would put that brand on you to say you belong to the extra family. So anywhere you're on, where they see a brand. Now, if you look at branding now is I'm using the word brand. If they brand something out there, what they do, they keep putting it in your face. Let's say a brand, you must buy it. Why? If you buy into this brand, that means you feel good about yourself. That means your status. Because if you look at the same no frills, I'm trying to get an analogy. The same no frills brand actually does what the brand does. But you know what? There's a price for the brand. When they put a price on that brand now, this bottle of water is 50 pence. This one is £10. Why? Because I've put out there that this brand is superior, and if you drink this, you're this class. And I can say that even with all right, let's say we've got a bottle of water here, and this bottle of water, for instance, is called Pinot. Now I'm going to tell you a bottle of water called Perrier. Perrier water.
Champagne water.
You understand? So there's a difference now. This water is in a plastic. It's 50 pence. Perrier is in a glass green bottle, nicely labelled, with a twist of lemon. I'm going to charge you the premium rate. But you know what? You want to show off. You want to be somebody, so you buy into that brand. £3. Yeah, man, look. And you know what? You'll be holding that £3 bottle all night to show everybody, look, I drink this, you know. But when we look on the psychology of it, it's the same water.
Same water, exactly, brother.
I've kind of gone off what I'm saying. First of all, that's what I was trying to use the analogy of a brand. A brand always bring out a fear. Check out what they do.
Yeah, a fear.
They bring out, look, remember the fear with bottled water was tap water is dirty.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, don't drink it, don't trust it. And if that's always again, over and over again, dirty, it's dirty. You go to the shop and you'll buy the plastic bottled water. Remember, that's in plastic. That bottle of water's been outside the shop for days. The sun has been shining on it. Do you understand? If the water goes up to a certain temperature, it breeds bacteria.
Yes.
But because we've psychologically been told tap water is dirty, we go for the bottled water. A man, this is another thing, brand and label. A man could put something on there. You ain't research it. The man could say, yeah, this water come from the Iceland. We don't go and say, well, I gotta check that out. We're just trusting the label and the brand. And this is the problem that what I'm trying to say. Psychology of selling something to us, psychology of how they've controlled us, is one of the things that we have to break down ourselves. And the same thing, why I like Jammers. Jammers don't know how much I like him. Yes, you break down the Latin, French, German, this and that. Let's have a dictionary of Caribbean or Jamaican words and what they mean. So we bring that energy back.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Brother. Absolutely.
Because when the other day I looked up a word, right? Sorry for straying. Brother Jammers. It was called idiosyncrasy. I couldn't even spell the word. I couldn't even spell the word. But when I looked on it, I traced that it started in the 1800s. Somebody has made this word in Latin. Somebody says idio means X. Idiosync means this. Put these three Latin words together, it means that. It's a noun. A noun meaning... See, when I see all this, right, this is why I like Jammers. They've come up with verb, noun, adjective, and all this. We should be saying, you know something, what is our frequency?
What's our dynamics? Our vibration.
So,
yes, indeed.
Brother Jammers, I don't know how much time we've got left on this show.
Well, we don't have any time left, to be honest with you. I mean, we need to go home, you know. I've got an appointment, actually. I know the brother dog used to run them session till 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I tell you, I used to get home after with brother dog in them long marathon session. But it's not one of those today, brothers. I mean, you're welcome to carry on, DJ Supreme.
You spark my fire.
Yes, man.
Because just like Jammers, when I see Jammers break down the word, and when I see you write your book, is the ancestors coming us and saying, boy, you know something,
brother,
we're going to write a book about rehab. And you download that because I'm so impressed with you, Tamara. When you told me 6 months, I said, you know how many years? Yes, I'm doing tea and we can't do it. Same with Jammers is the next one. You write a book. I actually think that is an excellent thing for all of us to do. Absolutely. They told us, don't put things, if you put it in a book, the black man will not read it. We've put things in book. Now it's for us to read it. Absolutely. Now what they say now, you know what, books, now that we're starting to get what I call further education and our youths are getting knowledgeable, them start put a price upon the university saying it's 9,000 a term. Them start say books is old, you know. They're determining what's happening in the frequency. Them start saying, you should go upon Amazon. You know why? You should go here and get your good reads or what them audio book. Why? Because you're putting things in books, right? You're making a statement. You're putting it in print.
Yes, a powerful
Brethren,
thing.
you see when that's on my shelf now. You understand? A person come and look on the shelf and they say, right. But they can't see the computer on Amazon when they're coming out my room.
That's right.
You understand?
Yes,
so
brother.
you got to watch how they just like they said, we use the word library. They put the books in the library, then bury the book in a library. Now, if you didn't come along and you was a person that liked
A
reading,
lot of librarian in their place there.
for you for going in there and read.
So why they never call it Truthberry instead of Library? Hey, the DJ, Jammers. Sorry, excuse me. I'm gonna go to the.
Yeah, Jammers.
Greetings.
Yeah.
Greetings. Because as I said, it's a story. What is a story? We keep getting caught up on this his story. Story means a man's told a story. A story is based on fact and fiction. It's not truth. You know, so that's why it's a lie that they bury. The lie is buried. So when you even find what's buried, it's still a lie. Because here's a story. It's not his reality, or it's not his truth. It's the words. The thing the words is really our words. When you see, basically, words is etymology. Etymology means the true word. That's a Greek word. So what was before Greek was the truth. So when you look through the language, you can actually see it's our language. They've just used it in a deceitful manner. That's how you can see through the words. And another thing, the first step towards freedom is when we can create something where we don't need them. When you don't need them, that's when you're free. And it's the things that are free. It's very simple to do. Security, food, education. We need to create a system where we don't need them to get our food, our clothing, and our protection and our education to ourselves. That is the step towards freedom.
So, Saturday, are you going to be down the reparations?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be DJing down there on Jabless Sound System.
Jabless? Who's Jabless?
The very station that you're on.
His sound is not called Jabless.
Yes. When you come down, you'll find out we've recreated as you say, we're recreating our own words. So it's now Jabless.
Okay, you're right, you know. Yeah, but Jammers, seriously, I think we need. But actually, you actually have your book of etymology and words. But I actually think that we need to start creating words.
Well, the thing is, all we need to do, because our words, that's the thing is, but we haven't been given the skill to decipher the words, to see through the lies, to see the truth in what, basically the truth is hidden in front of your face.
Because if you check it out, we are a people that are very good at, they may call it slang, and we understand slang when it comes to certain words, you know, and we talk in a rhythm as well. Especially when I go to Jamaica, they talk in a particular rhythm, a way, you know. Don't stop.
In a car, and you know exactly where to go. You don't need to think about it. You just know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they've done with the words, they've given us words that don't have a precise meaning.
So we become disconnected with our spirit.
That's right.
Separated from our higher power, from our higher self.
That's what it is.
From the spirits of our ancestors.
Yes. Because if you notice in all the sciences they use Latin words. Latin words are precise. Like a surgeon can't make a mistake, can't make one wrong move. In law, one wrong word and you've lost the case. You know,
well, brother,
you fly the aircraft or apply medicine, you can't use the wrong medicine. So these words are specific, precise words that when you say it, there's no left or right. You just know. What they've dumbed us down with this English language where the words can mean 5 or 6 different things.
Yeah.
That's why they've given us they haven't given us the high use of words, they've given us a plain use of words, no seasoning in the words.
Well,
because
brother,
one word, wicked, can mean good and bad.
We're going to wrap things up, brother Jammers. Can you please wrap it up?
I'm going to finish on this. So when you're given plain words and not the specific words, all we can do as a people until we get the specific use words is complain. And that's what we do. We complain about everything.
Yes, and Brother Supreme. Thank you, Brother DJ Jammers. And Brother Supreme.
Yeah, man.
Your closing words, please.
I got to say, you really fired me up, you know.
Well,
You're
forgive me,
fired
brother.
up, Fred.
Forgive me, brother. I mean, you're welcome to continue. I mean, I say, but I've got to go, you know, because I have to be elsewhere at this moment. I'd love to stay, but
Okay. But
I've
don't
got other
worry.
commitments.
You know we're talking about the future.
Yes.
You remember Star Trek? You can just let the
Beam. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
soon and beam back. You understand?
Yes, yeah, man. Yes, well, back in the days in Atlantis, we used to do that. We just used to go through all these portals and we just be
Teleportation.
from one place to another.
Yeah.
You know, be in Australia, Africa, anywhere we want to be, telepathic communication.
Yeah.
We never need no mobile phone,
Yeah.
you know, them kind of things. So really, them technology there is backward compared to where we were
Yeah.
once upon a time.
Yeah.
Blessed love to the community. Blessed love. I hope you all were enlightened, encouraged, and discouraged from doing the wrong and encouraged to do the right. Love and unite. Blessed love and good night, brothers and sisters. Blessed love.
Good night.
More love again. Yes.